You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
Many of today's best-known companies got their starts in the worst market conditions. HP got its start during the recession of 1937. The first Burger King restaurant opened amid the 1950s recession. Bill Gates founded Microsoft in 1975, the same year as the oil embargo recession. And the recent Great Recession saw the creation of startups like Uber, Airbnb, and Venmo. So let's fast forward to September 2020. The coronavirus has just dealt a stunning gut punch to the Manhattan real estate market unmatched in recent history, and the prospects of a near-term recovery remain unclear. According to the brokerage giant Douglas Elliman, the number of Manhattan apartment sales in second quarter of this year was down 54% compared to the same period last year, the largest decline in the last 30 years. So who in their right mind would open up a real estate company in New York City, smack in a market that's declining faster than both the 2008 financial crisis and the period after 9/11 attacks? Well, if your name is Ryan Serhant and you're one of the most successful and well-known real estate brokers in the world, you might be in your right mind. After spending a decade leading one of New York City's top-ranked real estate teams at Nest Seekers International, Ryan Serhant left the Nest to go out on his own. Last month, Ryan launched his own namesake brokerage, Serhant. It positions itself as the first real estate company launched and designed for the marketplace of tomorrow. It's a multi-dimensional real estate firm that has its own film studio, digital marketing lab, and a tech team dedicated to tracking the reach of the brand and its content across the web. In addition to his work in real estate, Ryan is an entrepreneur, producer, public speaker, best-selling author, and star of multiple Bravo TV shows, including the two-time Emmy Award-nominated $1 Million Listing New York. You'll see him popping up all over the place as a guest on real estate segments of CNBC, CNN, 2020, The Today Show, Bloomberg TV, and many others. Welcome to The Luxury Item, Ryan.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first, congratulations on the launch of Serhant. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
You know, as a brand executive, the first thing that shouted out at me was your logo, Serhant.
Oh, really? Do
Yep,
tell.
I will. So all caps, period at the end. And you don't see a lot of punctuations in logos.
Yep.
But to me, it's sort of like this mic drop with a period at the end, all caps, no additional discussion. Was that what you were trying to convey?
Yeah, you're clearly in the business. So, yeah, kind of. Listen, there was a lot of hesitancy for us in naming it after my last name. Do people really want to work directly under my name forever? There's a lot of ego in this business, and it might be better just to come up with a different name. Like Compass is named Compass. You've got a lot of names that are named, you've got Realtor, you've got Berkshire Hathaway Home Services,
Right.
There's Redfins and all that stuff, Open Door. And so, we tried to come up with a lot of names. We spent a long, long time doing it. But what we kept coming back to is, listen, let's focus on the business, okay? Yes, this is a startup company, but it's not really, right? We're taking my 12 years of business, we're rebranding it and kind of rebuilding it from the ground up. So what actually sells? What's the brand? What do people know? And let's go with that. And my last name, because there's only 11 of us in the world, ended up being like, hey, that's what people know. That and my gray hair. So, from watching years and years of $1 Million Listing New York, people know me as the gray haired guy. So, so then we kind of went with that. We went that name. And then it became okay, well, what do we do? And we looked at so many different fonts and typesets, and we created custom fonts, and we just kept coming back to the logo on its own, which is just a big S, period. And that was it. I remember we were sitting there, we're like, you know what? Just the name and a dark cobalt blue, all caps, period. That's it. End of story. No real estate group, no LLC, nothing else, just the name, period. That's it. And it's
I like it.
Yeah.
So before we talk about the launch of Serhant, I want to rewind back to March when the outbreak grounded Manhattan real estate to a halt. I was reading there were only like 2 contracts over $4 million signed in the last week of March. It was like the worst week since 2000 in the summer of 2009.
Yeah.
And the financial crisis rocked the market. So Can you share what happened in your world back then when the market suddenly went into shock?
In March?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was I did so much writing back then between, blog posts, Forbes articles, and just internal like notes to our clients. It's so funny that it seems like it was 10 years ago now, because
Yeah.
so much has happened, and at the same time so much hasn't. Because we've all been so still this
Right.
year. But I think like it just mentally, our brains have gone to so many different places. It's almost as exhausting as having traveled the world 15 times. But it felt like a slow motion car crash. That's the best way that I can explain it. That's what it felt like in March, in New York City. Where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm in Long Island City.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, exactly what it was like, right? It was, people kept saying they're going to shut down schools, they're going to shut down roads, they're going to shut down this. And everyone kept saying, no way. Yeah, right. This isn't a movie. It's never going to happen. And we all kept kind of procrastinating, thinking that would never happen. And I mean, listen, to this day, I don't know if it was still the right thing to do. And I think the historians will have to decide upon that. But it was like the second week of March, and people started leaving and taking their kids out of school. And it was right when a lot of the police officers, right? We knew there was going to be an issue when the NYPD started getting sick. So like, wait a minute, what happens when the police and the fire department start getting sick like that? We might have a real issue here. And then we knew too, if they shut down schools, then parents can't go to work. So then we're going to have a real issue too. So then we've got service workers who aren't going to be able to go to work because they got to stay home with their kids. And the minute they started talking about shutting down schools, we knew it was going to game over. And then it was, I think, what was it, the 18th or the 22nd, that Sunday. We left, my family and I left. We went to a lake house in New Hampshire that Wednesday. And then that weekend, the city shut down for good for 3 months. Great. I mean, work-wise, we were a non-essential business for quite some time. So, I was still going to the office, and a few of my key people were, but, most people were not. And real estate agents didn't have to come to the office anyway. So most people were already working from home and just kind of like just watching the news. That's what we did back then. It was just,
right.
You watch the news every day at 5 o'clock, you turn it on, and then as the stock market started tanking, then you're watching the news all day long just to see like, wow, is this over? Like, is it done?
Right. Exactly. This is that day, that doomsday that everybody has been talking about.
I mean, listen, the middle of March to the middle of April those were dark times, and it almost felt like the whole world was stuck at home watching the news all day. And then at night they'd watch Tiger King. So then work-wise, I mean, our job for those 3 months was trying to keep deals together.
Right.
A lot of deals fell apart, clearly. And, market history ended that Sunday. We now do deals that are, everything's post-COVID. That's how we talk, right? It's post-COVID. If there's a sale comp, or something happened in the market pre-COVID, it now no longer matters. It doesn't count. It's not real. So, there are discounts now, and we haven't even seen, like the media is so behind, we're in this market all day, every day. Like by Q1 of next year, you're going to see what the closings look like that happened in Q4 this year. Yes. And you're going to see what the real COVID effect has been on the real estate industry here in New York. And it's going to be messy.
Not pretty. Yeah. So back then, just like yourself, New Yorkers started reassessing the costs and benefits of living in New York City and, looking for homes in more rural and suburban communities, perhaps other states. And everybody, the New Yorkers fled to the Hamptons, Hudson Valley, or other locales, and, were adapting to working remotely. And you didn't have these outrageous open houses that you were so used to doing. And, active buyers, you didn't have active buyers touring homes or giving feedback or making offers. So how did this change your marketing selling strategies?
We're lucky, actually. My business didn't really have to pivot too much. We 3 years ago, we created a media group, an in-house, basically, film studio that would create. Sorry, we're in New York.
I know, I hear it all day.
Yeah, that we would create listing videos, and we'd sell through video. And we knew that was going to be a big thing 3 years ago. And, we built a YouTube channel for it, and, did a lot of things across social, and we're able to send video through email, and I really, really went hard on video. back when video just seemed like a pain in the butt, really. Like in a strong market, you don't have to work that hard. You have a couple pretty photos, you stick it up there, market's great, things sell, But, New York hasn't had a really strong market like that since like 2006. So, we've always had to think outside the box and get creative. And that's what we did. And so going up into the pandemic, I mean, we were lucky that we had video tours of almost every listing we have. Like we had house tours of almost every listing we had because we've made that part of our protocol. So while every other brokerage company agency was freaking out, running around with their iPhones, trying to quickly get video so that they could still sell during quarantine, we were good to go. I mean, obviously we were still affected by the quarantine,
Right.
Buyers dropped off. You have to remember in New York City, right, between Manhattan, Brooklyn, Long Island City, like 80% of the buyers and renters here buy and rent in New York, Brooklyn, and Long Island City because of work or school.
Right.
So if people don't have to go to the office and kids can't go to school, then 80% of my buyer pool is gone. And so traffic just drastically fell off. And then what happened, and it's just cyclical, right? So when that happens, who do you think comes out to buy? It's the vultures, the opportunists, the people come out and say, listen, I want to buy, but I want a COVID deal. And that has been a big part of our business since March, doing deals at 30 to 40% off where they would have been in February.
And this got the same thing with the luxury homes. How did they want to move that much?
More so with the luxury homes. Yeah. I mean, you just saw the penthouse at the Zaha Hadid building was asking 50 million. It just sold for 20. I think it sold for 20.
Wow.
Like we just did a deal. I was asking 30. We sold it for 22. We just did one that was asking 7.5. We sold it for 5.2. There are massive price swings now because there's no foundation anymore. Like people just don't know what things are worth yet.
Right.
Until new comps get set.
Yeah. So, like most marketing messages at the time, turned on the TV and you saw the tone of every commercial. They actually sounded the same. So how did your marketing messages, the tone of your marketing messages and the listings, because it wasn't business as usual. There's more, compassion and empathy, et cetera.
I mean, but we had to be careful, right? You can get in trouble in our business, with the Department of Licensing Services. And there were a few agents that had a license revoked, by, I think there was an agent in Florida who sent out a e-blast of New York City on fire, saying like, hey, come to Florida, where it's, come escape New York, come to Florida. And that's not good advertising. I can't remember the exact phrase for it. It's unethical, and you can get really in trouble for it. So we just kind of, listen, it was a storm, right? We were Forrest Gump in the middle of that storm with Captain Dan, Lieutenant Dan, just riding it out, just getting hit in the face with waves and wind that we'd never gotten hit with before. And you just keep your eye on the prize, just keep moving forward. And it was tricky, but we did okay. But our marketing didn't really, I guess it's not like we changed anything. We stopped doing a handful of things. Like we had a lot of incentives planned, like broker cash prizes, gifts, if you sell an apartment here, you're going to get a ticket to this concert, all that kind of stuff that we always do, giveaways, things to incentivize agents and incentivize buyers to come through. So all that just never happened. We couldn't do it anymore, and it wouldn't make sense. And it would be bad.
Yeah. So when you work with the buyers, especially of the high-end apartments, I mean, did you also have to act like a psychologist too? Because I'm sure there was so anxiety-ridden, especially when they're selling their apartments.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had to be kind of buyer psychologists and seller psychologists. Like, it is not a rare occurrence for us to find ourselves in between a bickering husband and a wife. One of them's crying. One wants to sell, the other doesn't want to sell. There's a deal on the table, and we're just pouring the glass of wine, walking them through it. Mm-hmm. That's Tuesday for us. And so this is kind of no different. The only difference here is we don't know the future, right? Like if it's a typical situation, buyer, seller, then you got to focus on what the end result is, which is your whole goal is to sell your home, or your whole goal is to buy a home because you're going to have a baby. And this is, you got to move. In this situation, it's, do you really take a 25% haircut just to sell it now? Will the market come back? What's going to happen in November with the election? If Trump wins, what happens? If Biden wins, what happens? How is people going? What do we do? Like, is there going to be a second wave? Will there ever be a vaccine? Is New York ever going to be safe? Are we going to be in such a deficit now? Is the financials for the city and the state going to be so brutal now that the city's now going to be taxed through the roof? Should everyone just leave now and move to Florida? But then is Florida going to be in trouble too? And start, so there's so many unknowns. So it becomes scary for people when you're spending millions of dollars.
Yeah. So, I mean, New York City is starting to crawl out of the lockdown now. So are you seeing any signs of life in Q3 for the high-end property sales?
Oh yeah. We've been incredibly busy, mostly with people who know, listen, if you look at history, okay, look at the last 20 years, you had 9/11 and the market tanked afterwards, right? For good reason. And then for the following 6 years, it was the biggest, greatest housing market that the country's ever seen, right? Especially in New York.
Right.
And then you had Lehman. Lehman fell in 2008 and the market tanked for a while this time, okay? But then it came back, and it came back much stronger than it had ever been. Even during the height of kind of 2005 to 2007, if you were paying $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a foot, you were crazy. That was so expensive. But houses and apartments were selling left and right. In the second boom after Lehman, your baseline was $2,000 a foot, right? Like, that's normal. I bought things at $2,000 a foot. Now there's another reset. We're gonna have a big dip. I just don't know how big and long this dip is going to be, but New York, you don't bet against New York. Every single time people do, they lose money. And it is here. There's no other place like this. And you can't get the same energy through a Zoom, right? You can't get the same interaction. You can't train new workforce. You're not going to promote somebody that you see every day in your phone, right? Like, so work will find a way, and people will slowly start to come back. And when they come back, they're going to want housing, and they're going to want to take advantage of these low rates that we have, right? Interest rates are incredibly low. They want to take advantage of great deals that are out there right now. And I think we're going to start to see that in early 2021, and it's going to ramp up, and we'll have a good 7 to 10 year run.
That'd be great. Let's pivot and talk about your new baby, Serhant. On the first day of your 12th year in the real estate industry, you launched your namesake real estate brokerage, Serhant. Your highly entertaining YouTube video announcing the birth of Serhant, opens with the rapid TV news clips of broadcasters at the start of the pandemic, essentially announcing the death of New York City real estate. Then it transitions into you in a helicopter circling around high above glimmering buildings and skyscrapers in Manhattan. You're wearing a superhero suit, cape and all, a giant letter S, as you were talking about, of course, with a period emblazoned on your chest. You fly down to earth miraculously and take the viewer to your superhero lair, and I guess that's downtown Manhattan. So the other superhero with an S on his chest, that other guy, Superman, was always there to save the day from villains like, Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
What is Serhant here to save us from?
From the death of New York. Right, we believe so strongly in New York. I owe my whole life to New York. New York gave me a career. New York gave me a family, and I believe in this city. And it really pisses me off when people discount it, right, and bully it and beat it up. Especially its own politicians, the people that are supposed to take care of it, the people that are supposed to buoy it. Like, de Blasio, I hope, goes down in the history books as the single worst mayor in the history of the known universe. And it's just like, it's complete insanity to me. Like, you're supposed to champion your city, champion the workers that are here, bring it back up when it's down, keep it moving, not hurt it and then kick it in the gut while it's, on the floor. My allegory, I guess, when we started the business was, I got to start it now for lots of other reasons. I can't wait anymore. And so, I am going to fly down to the city, and we're going to do this thing right now when no one else is starting a new company, when everyone else is leaving New York City. I'm going to go get a building in Lower Manhattan. I'm going to build out a new office model, and I'm going to start a residential real estate company in the face of very, very strong adversity on my 12-year anniversary in this business, and on the 12-year anniversary of Lehman Brothers filing for bankruptcy, because I believe in New York. My agents believe in New York. Our team believes in the city, and we believe in this business. That's what we're here to we're here to save it and bring it back to glory.
So starting your own brokerage must have been, we talked about this brewing around in your head for a while. So aside from spending more time with your wife and daughter during lockdown, Do you use that time to accelerate its launch?
Oh yeah. I mean, for sure. I didn't really spend more time with my wife and baby, to be honest. We have a guest house in the lake house in New Hampshire, and that was my office. So my life didn't really change. Woke up at 5 a.m. Instead of going to the gym, I'd run around a lake in the cold, in the snow. It was terrible. Do my push-ups and things to CNBC, shower, and then I go to the office, which was just a kitchen table in the guest house, and talk to my team as we went about our day. We still had pre-development meetings, calls, talking to lawyers, like trying to get our deals going. There was a little less prospecting at the beginning of quarantine, which is a big part of our business, right? It was more just kind of putting out fires every day. But then we used a lot of that time to bullet out kind of what we needed to do in order to build a company. And then I came back in April 20th. And so we still had 2 months of lockdown. And during those 2 months, kind of the immediate team and I really spent time, and we thought about what we needed to do, and we got all the pieces in motion. We had just big pieces of paper up on walls, with checklists of what to do. It was pretty crazy.
Your new real estate brokerage, you're saying it's designed for a new world. So how is this business model for Serhant different than the traditional real estate model?
One, we don't have offices. We have houses. So we'll be in every major market in the next 10 years with a house. That'll be a hub for our agents. I don't like the models that don't have any kind of brick and mortar. I don't think that makes sense. I think we're not selling software that's in the cloud, right? We're selling homes. So we work in what we know. But I also don't think real estate agents need cubicles anymore. And I think the office way of living is, and we knew this before COVID, and then COVID just sort of obviously amplified the thought, is kind of the old way of doing business. The most successful salespeople are mobile and global, right? And I said that in that video. We also are not just a residential real estate brokerage, right? We're powered by an in-house film studio and one of the biggest online training platforms for sales. We're big into online education. We have a digital platform for sales coaching and training, and there's lots of different courses. And we have 5,000 agents now in 104 countries as of yesterday, who are part of that course, part of our membership base, and they are part of our referral base, right? We trade deals back and forth every single day. That way, if you ever have a client who wants to buy or sell anywhere in the world, and you are at Serhant, you are taken care of, right? You can facilitate that transaction, and it's there ready to go for you. And there's a lot of other things that separate us, but I think we're also not building a brokerage for 2020, right? We're very much building it for 2030. And we're focused on the agent's brand more than anything.
How do you use data?
We use big data. If you go to our website, you go to serhant.com and you go to ADX, the big thing that I wanted to do for our clients was really to map our brand exposure and really show to people, when you list with us, you list your homes, you list your buildings, this is where I can put your properties. And we figured out how to do that and to show it graphically. And there's a globe, and you can play with it and move it around and see kind of what our brand exposure is in any individual city around the world at any given time. And those are people that are interacting with us on social. Those are people seeing our ads. Those are people watching one of our TV shows. Those are people reading the book and the new book coming out. So that's one way. We integrate through different API feeds from Google and Foursquare to bring our listings to life. If you go to our listing pages, you'll see something called a lifestyle index, which is, because I guess it's like, if it works, you don't fix it, right? But real estate listings have never changed. Like, the whole world has changed, but residential real estate listings have always been photos, floor plan, information, and that is it. And that seems this just seems weird and boring. Like, why not bring more into it? If I told you, like, hey, you're in Long Island City, right? So if I told you, okay, 2416 Queens Plaza South, tell me what's around that area, check out that address, you'll have no idea where that is.
Right.
You don't know. Right. I'm not telling you one Central Park South. So you say, oh, okay, maybe that's by Central Park. Like, most addresses, you don't know where they are. And so our listings have a lifestyle index, which pulls together automatically how many movie theaters are nearby, how many schools are nearby, is there a dog park in walking distance, it's anything that you'll need to live, that information is there automatically so you can see it in the actual listing. And then we do a lot of research, so the data is important there, but I think what I'm most excited about is something we're trying to build right now. We're, I guess, halfway through it. It's our future index, where buyer beware, but we have all of the data, economic data, Department of Buildings data, Department of Transportation data, the Comptroller's Office data, anything you can think of is all public information that we can pull from the last 50 years. And we can use it to help predict what will happen in certain neighborhoods over the next 5, 10, and 15 years. So if you have a buyer, an investor, or developer who's saying, hey, listen, I'm thinking about buying this in the East Village. Where do we think the market's going to be in the East Village in the next couple of years? Barring a pandemic, terrorist attack, financial collapse, etc., we can use this platform to show, automatically, here's what's being built, here's what restaurants are coming, here's what's being closed, here's what's happening across the gamut on every single block, on every block and lot. And this is where we think prices are going to go in the next couple years, if that's what you're looking for.
So it's like a recovery index.
Yeah, kind of. If you want to look at it that way, it's the best way we can to, in essence, use data to predict the future. They kind of like like the weathermen, right? But if you could predict the weather 1 year in advance, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Predictive analytics are so key right now. So that's great. So how do you, using your new business model, Manhattan right now is looking, high unemployment, rising crime, Mayor de Blasio, growing sanitation and public transportation problems, and all this kind of makes buyers reluctant to make this big bet on Manhattan real estate. So how do you convince wealthy luxury buyers otherwise?
There is nothing that people love more than getting in early, right? Look at IPOs, like only the best, the ones who are connected, the ones who are in on it early. They're the ones who make the most money, right? Historically, right? That's what you want to do. Except the difference here in our market is New York isn't really an IPO because the stock already came out for 200 years, right? And we've seen how it's grown over those 200. You've seen how it's grown over the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And now the stock got taken off, okay? It got rattled a little bit, and it's going to be put back onto the market. You can come and get in early pricing, early investor pricing, before it really goes back to public. And when it goes public, that's when everybody else comes back. They're coming back there's a vaccine. They're all coming back. Oh, New York's great. It's the only place, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. Hoorah, hoorah. But you got in early, right? And that's what you do. That's the conversation. And that's what works.
To say I'm selling a 6-bedroom penthouse in Tribeca that I purchased for $30 million 5 years ago. And then right now I know it's a buyer's market on steroids, but I come to you and I meet with you or someone on your team. How do you start building a marketing strategy for me?
Well, the first thing I ask you is, why are you selling? What's your impetus to sell? If it's to make money, don't sell. If it's because you bought another house in Florida, or you want to buy another place, then that's a different story. And if that is, and so if you didn't want to sell, then we look at the pricing and we figure out where it can actually sell today. Because pricing is relative to the current state of the market. So if we know where it'll actually sell, and if the seller is agreeable, and let me tell you, most of them are not. Then we build out a strategy that is pretty digital. That is very much through ads targeted to a certain demographic and to certain people who are looking for those types of properties. We go after, families who are right now anyway, who would be the person to buy that? Maybe it's somebody in Greenwich or Long Island, or New Jersey who just sold their house for a crazy amount of money and they never thought they would ever sell. But because of the pandemic, a lot of New Yorkers went and bought up all these houses everywhere. Maybe that person now wants a great opportunity to come into the city and get a trophy asset at a discounted price. And if someone can come in and get a $30 million apartment for $25 million, that's not a bad deal. And so you sell value that way. And the seller, listen, if we're talking these price points, these guys are up or down $5 million a day, no matter what. So it's a write-off against other gains that they probably had in the market. There's a lot of different tax, advantages to, to selling for less than what you paid, even though it never makes anybody feel good. And you focus on that end game. We have a lot of people that are selling now to buy elsewhere, and they're buying elsewhere and getting great deals. So it's all about the net, right? It's about where you end up. You might take a hit where you sell, but you're getting a great deal where you buy, and you make money on the buy.
So your team at Nest Seekers did like $1.4 billion in closed and in contract sales last year, mostly in New York and in the Hamptons, making you one of the most successful agents in the country. And last year, Nest Seekers, I think I think I was reading, it was like a $40 million Bridgehampton beach house. Yeah. The seller found you on YouTube. You have over 1 million subscribers on your YouTube.
Yeah, the buyer.
The buyer did. You have over 1 million subscribers on YouTube channel and 1.5 million following on Instagram. A lot of your growth and success has been through connections on social media and a key part of your brand strategy. So how has social media changed the game for you personally and selling luxury real estate?
The more people who know what you sell, the better. It's social is brand expansion, brand amplification, and brand is reputation. So if you have a reputation for selling a lot of real estate, and the way that you tell people that is through social, then that's the way that we are putting out our brand message over and over and over. So we advertise our properties across social, and we advertise our personalities, right? I get to walk into listing meetings with sellers and meet new buyers, and they already know me, right? My 90% of my first date is already done. They know they want me. They know they like me because they've been following me for 3 years, or because their son saw one of my property tours on YouTube, and he's 10, and he said, "Mom, Dad, you got to use Ryan because he's awesome because he did this." And that's, listen, we market to kids, it works. Case in point, like we listed a property in Nolita on Mulberry Street for $11 million on a Wednesday in February, pre-COVID, at 11. The video went up that day on YouTube. A young kid saw the video, showed it to his dad, who was looking for a place kind of, Gramercy, maybe Upper East Side. His dad then sent it to his broker, and his broker said to him, "Yeah, what about it? You want to be uptown?" And he's like, "Yeah, but maybe I could take a look at this." He said, "Okay, weird." The guy came and saw it on Friday, and he bought it for $10 million. Now, the broker never would have sent him the listing. The guy never even would have seen the listing because he never would have searched for it in the first place. Right. And I have no way to get to that guy. I don't even know who he is. But through the power of entertaining sales content, because that's what content has to be, right? It can't be boring. It has to be entertaining. It has to have hooks. It has to have recurring themes. People have to be into watching it. We're able to find a buyer in a unique way. And that is exactly what we did there.
Were you always sold right from the beginning of being a vlogger?
Absolutely not. I think if you look at my first video ever and some of the press and things I've done since then, I thought it was the stupidest, dumbest idea ever. YouTube is just for kids. It's not real. I guess because I didn't grow up with it, I don't know. And I thought it was be a total waste of my time. And, I don't know. But I was convinced to do it just to try it. And I got addicted to it. Like I can make a property tour and put it out today to the benefit of my sellers. If I film something today for $1 million listing, which we are literally, it might not come out till May of next year. So, Bravo is very much for my brand. YouTube is very much for the properties, for the clients, and getting things sold and getting traction.
Have you tackled TikTok yet?
I tried. I don't dance that well. I'm 6'3", 200 pounds. I don't move that well. We like Instagram Reels. We do some of those. It's just so much. It's just about finding the time to focus. But we push the properties. That's what it's about at the end of the day. Our funnel. When you pour water on our big real estate oak tree, all those leaves, all those branches, all the different things that we do, it's really to strengthen the roots of the tree, which is real estate sales.
And you've really built an incredible personal brand, applying many of the strategies that some of the well-known luxury brands have used to be on top, building an emotional connection with customers, constant creative innovation and, having this aura of exclusivity. So what can luxury brands learn from you?
I think the best compliment that I'm ever given is, people will watch TV or they'll watch YouTube or they'll read the books. And when they meet me in real life, they say, Oh, it's just so weird. You're just like you are on the screen. You sound just like you do in the book. That's so weird. What do you mean? Why is that weird? Like, well, I met this guy. She was such a jerk. He was so mean. He didn't even talk to me. He didn't do this. I think advertising is inherently a push, right? It's a push. You're pushing your message onto people. And so turn that into something physical. No one likes being pushed. If you push someone into a wall, they don't like it, right? They're going to push back. Okay. PR, social, YouTube, authentic outreach, right? That feels organic and original. It's pulling people towards you. And you think about romance, right? You're pulling someone in close to you. That's what we do. We don't make it about the push ever. Sometimes we do. You gotta push a little bit, but it's all about bringing the audience closer to us and letting them know that this is exactly who we are. This is our authentic self, and this is us organically, warts and all. That's why you'll see, we push forward a lot, even on our new property tours with the new brokerage. A big thing with our tours is I have a whole team that makes them, but you see the cameras in there, you see a lot of the craziness, like they're behind the scenes, right? Mm-hmm. So the audience is not stupid. They get how it's made. And so we include them in that process. And I think that's, been one of the fun things that we've tried to do. But I guess that would be my message, right? You gotta be authentic. You gotta figure out, and then who's the face of the brand, right? Like, who can people connect to? I think that's the hardest part that I have with most brands is, like, unlike a Nike, for example, where it's connected to athletes and you've got your favorite athlete and they're specific, and that athlete might convince you to buy that pair of shoes. But once you're in the store, then you also get the sweatshirt and the shorts and the gloves, like who are you connected to? And is their story interesting, or do they just get paid a lot? And those are important.
So I guess we're expecting you to be the Chanel of real estate.
Oh my God. I should start making bags. Yeah.
So tell us about Listed, the new real estate TV channel you have on YouTube. What's that all about?
Yeah, I wanted to, it's go find anyone under the age of 20. I would say 70% of them, right, in major cities don't have cable anymore, right? They don't have cable, they don't watch TV. Mm-hmm. They have Apple TV, they have streaming, they watch things on their computer. That is our future buyer base, right? Those are my future sellers, those are our future clients. And I work every day for future me. Whatever happens to Ryan today, myself today, is going to happen. I can control it, but it's still going to happen. But I can plan for what's going to happen to me in 10 years and 20 years from now. And I want to make sure that guy, when I become him, is really happy. Otherwise, he's going to build a time machine and come back in time and kick my ass. So Listed is HGTV 30 years ago. It is a digital media network specifically for real estate. There will be shows on there that are about, that are property tours, there are renovation shows, there are staging shows, there are food shows in beautiful homes that have great kitchens. There are real estate news shows, and they all star and are hosted by a Serhant agent. So they're all hosted by experts. These are not just anchors or actors or influencers. These are real people who sell real estate every single day. And I wanted to give my agents a platform the same way Bravo gave me a platform 10 years ago. And that's what Listed is. And our first show came out, I don't know when this will air, but our first show came out on Monday, and our second show premieres today.
And you're slated to come out with a book early next year, Big Money Energy, How to Rule at Work, Dominate at Life, and Make Millions. So it kind of sounds like a book about building self-confidence.
That is exactly what that book is. Yeah. Wrote it during quarantine as well. And, it is, it's the secret sauce for me. Felt Like Serhant, my first book, which has, been great and done so much for my career and created the course and the speaking tours and all of that, is very strategic, right? It is, it's my tactical sales toolkit. Big Money Energy is the confidence blueprint. It's a mindset book. It is, and it will teach people how to have confidence with what they want to do when they don't have confidence in themselves. And it breaks it down. There's a 3-step process, and it's really what I learned about how to have confidence as a real estate agent in New York City without being from New York, knowing what real estate was, and being confident in myself at all. So, and how I overcame all that to move forward. And so I put that all in there, and it's super vulnerable. Makes me a little uncomfortable that I put it all out there, but Godspeed.
But it's screaming to be an audiobook too.
Yeah, so like Serhant, the audiobook did really, really well. So we're going to record the audiobook for Big Money Energy in November when I'll talk for 2 days straight.
but that's what one of your key brand assets is the way you sell and the way you pitch and the way you talk. And so I could see the audio versions of whatever book you come out would be really powerful.
Yeah, I hope so.
So what are some of your personal and business goals for next year?
Oof. Stay afloat, don't die. We want to be in our, by the end of next year, we definitely want to be in our final location. Right now we're in a temporary office in Tribeca, as we build out our future kind of permanent location. So, we'll go into there. We'll get to, I want to have a lot of good agents. And I want to get back to doing around $100 million a month in sales. That was kind of where we were pre-COVID, and I want to get back there post-COVID. And I think I can do it for 21.
That's great. So my final question, which I ask all my guests, is the luxury item question. I'm really curious to hear how you're going to answer this one. So if you were stranded on a desert island and you could only have one single luxury item, what would that luxury item be? It can't be any form of transportation or anything that requires mobile service. What would that single luxury item be?
It can't be a car or a boat to get me off this damn island.
Nope.
It can't be my phone. I don't know. Probably my watch. I wear an AP watch, and it's been with me for a long time, and I wear it all the time because if I switch it, then I feel like I have bad luck. And it's a nice watch. It was like the first kind of expensive gift that I got myself. And that way I would also always know the time as I'm slowly losing my mind. Stuff on your time.
Well, when your watch stops, you'll know it. At least it'll be right 2 times a day.
Well, guess what? It's a Royal Oak. It does. As long as I shake my wrist all the time, it doesn't stop.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining me on the Luxury Item Podcast, and good luck with Serhant. So do you think we're going to see another season of $1 Million Listing New York, because the Los Angeles show just doesn't do it for me?
Yeah, same. Yeah, it'll come out. It's supposed to be out by now. It'll come out early next year. We got shut down for 4 months. We shut down in March. We didn't pick up filming again until August. And so it's going to be interesting to watch, because the season is going to, like, half the season was shot pre-COVID, and then it's going to cut to black. And then the second half of the season is masks, face shields. How do we sell this house if no one can come see it? So it'll be interesting and kind of crazy.
So you're saying that's early next year?
Yeah, it'll come back early next year.
Ryan, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.